Thank you. When I got this challenge of speaking at this TEDxStockholm event, I thought it's going to be a challenge. It's 18 minutes for a person who's been living throughout the last 10, 15 years, talking for at least hours and days. It's a challenge to talk for 18 minutes. And so I started with a mind game I started thinking, okay, what if I would get the chance to talk for 18 minutes to the 50 most important people in the world? What would I say? And the first thing that happened was that then 18 minutes felt like a long time. I get 18 minutes to communicate to the most important people in the world what I believe would be a little bit of a contribution to having a little bit of a better place to live. So I was sitting there thinking, what do I want to say to these people? And of course, I want to teach them to make out. That's obvious, right? That's a skill you need to learn. As all skills, you can be talented, but you have to work it too, right? So I was thinking, and then of course I realized that, there are more things. I'm going to read from this article. I'm going to do that. This is an article who was written by Torsten. He is a professor from Uppsala in Sweden. And he wrote an article a few years ago that I thought was, I've been carrying this with me, sort of. Because he wrote an article that says, how come we... It's Swedish, of course. It says, varför mår vi så dåligt trots att vi har det så bra? But translated, it will be, how come we suffer so much although we're so well off? And I think Torsten, the professor, has a point. Because I'm thinking, we're pretty well off in Sweden. It's pretty okay. There are people in Sweden who actually suffer from lack of resources, and there are definitely a lot of people in the world who suffer from lack of resources and infrastructure and whatever they need to have a good life. However, it strikes me that here in Sweden, most people have a pretty good life anyway. And although we're eating, antidepressives and we're doing all sorts of, we have anxiety and we're fat and we're bored. And so I think he has a point, because really, like you in here, like if you have a bad day, let's say you have a bad day, like one of those days when it's not good, it's raining, it's cold, you think, I need to move from Sweden. But you're here, it's November, it's raining, people are angry and dark, and you got a parking ticket, and some tool at work didn't work, and you had to, you come home and you're sitting in your couch, it's 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're sitting there thinking, this was a really crappy day, And I'm thinking, a day like that, very few of you in here would then sit there in your couch thinking, but if I had a flat screen TV, it would have been a good day, right? Now I'm sitting with this deep screen TV. No. I'm thinking that you're smarter than that. You know that it's not about the TV, and it's not about whatever stuff that you get. It's about something else. I think that Torsten has a point when he asks the question, how come we suffer so much as when we're so well off? And that's why I was thinking back home, what am I going to say to these important people sitting in this room listening to me? And of course I realized I have to bring up the reminder from Cesar Milan, the dog person. Yeah, and I'm not into dogs. We don't have a dog. We have a horse. But anyway, I was sitting there watching this Cesar Milan, the dog dude, and I've never seen it before, and I was just being kind to my wife, and it's called The Dog Whisperer, and I'm thinking he's going to come in purple robes with incense and say, the dog longs for his cousin. But he doesn't have that, so he's just doing his dog thing. And he's in this episode that I watched, I saw he was coming to a family where they had a little dog. I don't know what kind of dog that was possessive with his toys. He had toys, and he'd bitten all of the family members, and they were soon going to have to put him out, to kill him. So Cesar Milan comes there to rescue. There's a little a toy on the ground, and there's this dog, and he puts his foot on the dog, and the dog goes, "It's my toy. I'm gonna eat you alive," And the dog goes, "Rah, rah, rah, rah," and Cesar Milan looks into the camera and says, "This is a time for patience." And then he has patience and he's waiting, and then there's a broom suddenly in the room. And he takes his broom and he gently holds that little dog away with the broom, and he takes his foot away from the toy and he keeps the dog away with the broom, and then he puts the broom away, and then he does his special That's what he's doing. The little Mexican, he's doing and all sorts of lethal dogs are just Rottweilers and pit bulls, he just and they go yeah. I tried that with the Rottweiler in the stable, but I don't think I have it in me, really, because it bit my finger almost, and But Cesar never misses, so it took 1 hour. They had the problem for 4 years. They were going to take out the dog in a matter of like a month. And in 1 hour, the dog learned how this is going to work. And, the family comes out from they've been watching inside the living room window, like, what's he doing? And they come out, and the kids are happy, the tears from their eyes, and they get to keep the dog. And the mother and the dad, they're just impressed. And the dad, who's an engineer, he walks up to Cesar and says, "Wow, it was so cool to see how you was using the broom." And then Cesar Milan says, "Yes," he says, "I was using the broom, but I could have used any tool, because it's not about the tool, it's about how you are when you're holding the tool." Oh. What I'm thinking in my field of whatever, talking about personal development and personal growth and, creating a little better world to live in, I'm thinking that we need tools. There are a lot of tools developed for creating a better world, and I think it's good. Yet, this 18 minutes to the most important people in the world, because of course you are. If I, as a presenter, do not think that you are the most important people in the world, I'm wrong, right? I need to perceive you as the most important people in the world, because you are the ones that I'm communicating to right now. And to you, I want to remind you that it's not only about the tool, it's about how we are when we're using the tools. And throughout this day, I think I've heard that in many of the talks at this TEDxStockholm event, the idea that we need to contribute from what we have and not just as an alibi wait for some better tool. I think we need to be brave, and that's where the making out comes in. Because, this making out business, I want to make sure that you realize that it's a metaphor, right? I'm not suggesting that you're going to stick your tongue into people's mouths at this creative dinner tonight, because that'd be kind of messy. So it's a metaphor. And this metaphor, it dawned on me years ago. We're talking 5-6 years ago. I was at this conference, kickoff meeting for something called Junior Achievement. Junior Achievement is a young entrepreneurship thing, and I was in Norway. I was in Oslo, Norway, and I was going to do it was a kickoff meeting for teenagers who were in this Junior Achievement thing. And I got there, and they have a problem in the Junior Achievement movement because it's very politically correct. It's entrepreneurship, future development, creativity. So they get all these important people with long sticks up their ass, come and say, you need to be go-getters. So they had a very important person coming to, have the first kickoff. And this guy, he is gonna, do the, the pep talk, and he's standing there with this stick and all. He's standing behind the like a podium. You need some sort of shield, so that the enemy does not come too close to you. That's why I've designed all these podiums like this, big, fat, so you can also realize as an audience that this guy has a lot between his legs, right? He's got a large sausage down there. It's a lot of competence. Because you need kind of that, if you want to be a boss, it's good with that. Anyway, so this guy is standing there, and he's gonna do the kick. And I'm gonna do this imitation in Norwegian, my interpretation of Norwegian, because I think the language he's using is international. Think about this situation. 600 teenagers from 20 different schools. It's a kickoff meeting for junior achievement. They're 16 years old. He's standing there behind the podium and says something like this. Inom Kristelig Folkeparti så har vi tatt et policybeslut at det må være ungdommen som vi pleier til å ta til vare for å skape den type av felle. I think it's an international language. It's an international language of not seeing who's in the room, right? It's an international language of being an old man with a lot of competence but not so much of a heart, right? So he's standing there, and he's putting these people into a trance in 15 minutes. And then he's putting them in a coma in the next 20 minutes. And after this person, there's this guy from the Chamber of Commerce. He's, doing the woolen suit and with the creases and, the stick is all there in his ass. And he's walking out and they say, the Chamber of Commerce can offer the CEO in every little company the management training, success strategy, formula package. And then the marketing director can go our marketing research institute motherfuckers program. And you need to realize that most of these teenagers, they chose junior achievement because it seemed to be an easy choice, right? It seemed to be difficult to study French. It's a lot of different words and crap. You need to study a lot, sit there. You can do this junior achievement thing, and you can dip some candles for Christmas and sell them, and it's all right, right? So most people in this room are only there because their teacher the day before said, tomorrow you're going to take a bus. So it's not like they're sitting there, I want to be the CEO and I want to go, and that's not how it is. Most of them are not awake anyway for the Chamber of Commerce guy. Anyway, so when I get in front of this group, there's been a little problem with the guy who was arranging this conference or this kickoff. We've misunderstood each other, so he's outlined my talk, maximize your life. That sounds kind of maximizing, don't you think? And these people at this moment are almost dead. They don't have a life. So I'm standing there. I'm seeing this massive PowerPoint picture saying maximize your life. I'm looking at 600 dead teenagers, and I'm thinking, when I come out to the middle of this room, I'm going to be needing to say something else than I'd planned. And I'm looking at a 4-step, very short walk. And I'm kind of curious to what I'm going to say when I get into the middle of the stage. And I get there, and there's this half a second being a very long second, standing there, almost feeling like I need a stick off my ass. And then I hear myself saying, my name is Klas Hallberg, and I'm here to teach you to make out. Can you imagine? The response I get from these, they go, whoa! I go, yeah, you there, you are a little curious about this guy. And then I tell them I'm really meaning it. Because when you make out, your teeth can hit, and your lips can get squeezed, and you can get sweaty, and your mascara can start running, and it can be, embarrassing, and you can be unpractical. And then I tell them about one time when I was 16 years old when I made out. And I didn't do that a whole lot when I was a teenager. No, because I wanted to look like Joey Tempest, who was a rock star in Sweden in 1985, who had long curly hair and leather pants and a giant sausage. And I figured I'd start with the hair, right? And normal hair grows like this, downwards, right? That's a general direction for hair, okay? This kind of hair doesn't do that. No, this kind of hair grows like this, and then it expands. Yeah, so I didn't look like Joey Tempest. I looked like a giant poodle. And then I wanted Levi jeans, but we couldn't afford that, so we went to some outlet and got jeans called canard. That means duck. That's duck in French. I had duck jeans and poodle hair. Well, I didn't make out a whole lot when I was 16 years old. So when I finally got to do that one, that was a big night for me, you know. I was 16 and a half, and I found this girl, and we were sort of cuddling under a staircase at the youth club, and we're standing there, you know, going, la, la, and I felt champagne in my body. You know, I felt like I was sweating, and she was sweating, and I felt this, and that's when I farted. You know, that's extremely embarrassing, right? What can I do? What can I say? Someone must have walked under the staircase and... You know, and you can't ignore it. It's like a thick gas. So I'm smoked, right? So I'm telling these teenagers that that's why we're not making out with each other. That's because we've been through these situations, or we've heard stories like this. That's why we, instead of making out, we're sitting at park benches and kiss gently and say, should we take a little walk? Maybe drink a cup of tea? And how fun is that? You're 16 and a half years old. Your whole body is just shivering and shouting, I want to have sex. I didn't tell the teenagers that. But when I left this conference, I realized that it's not so bad of a statement. I mean, how do you have it? When you get back from this TEDxStockholm event X thing, when you get back there and your partner says, how was that event? It was pretty neat. You know, it's always interesting to meet people from other areas of life and discuss how you can save the world a little bit. I don't know, you might be coming home like this, I'm home. I don't think so. I think you're going to be... And I'm here to communicate to you, being the most important people in the world, that I think we need to go out there and be in life where it's unpractical. To be in life where our teeth get clenched and where our lips get squeezed and where life is embarrassing, because that's where life happens. And that's why I think it's so interesting that Torsten's answer to the question, why do we suffer so much although we're so well off? His idea, being right or wrong, is that he thinks it's because we're not talking to each other about what we really feel. We're talking to each other about a whole lot of other bullshit instead. And what I'm here to remind you guys about is that life is not about the tools. It's about how we are when we're holding the tools. And I think life is about talking to each other about what we really want to be talking about. And that I call to have an attitude of making out. Thank you for listening.